Welcome to Shit Black Girls Watch podcast, where we break down film, sex, and black girl magic one episode at a time. I'm your co-host, Mia Dene, here with my best friend Trish, and we are back on the mic to give you the real on what's worth watching, what had us screaming at the screen, and why black women are always bringing the flavor to the culture.
That's right. We're talking deep dives, wild takes, and a whole lot of laughs, all from two besties who love film just a little too much. The world is watching. We're definitely talking about it. Let's get into it.
Right. So today's topic, we are talking about black nepotism in Hollywood. If you were in the position, would you give your kids an upper hand? Like, would you benefit from nepotism or would you make them work for their success?
I think that's a good question. And I think about this often because it's like, on the one hand, our parents and maybe the generations before them had this perception that you have to earn everything that's given to you or earn everything you have and nothing should be given. And that's why we get kicked out the house at 17, 18 years
Mm,
old.
Lord,
And other people,
I've
it's
seen it.
changing. It's changing a little. I left when I was 17. So it's changing a little bit
But
now, I
but that
think.
was your choice versus like your
Exactly.
parents just kicking you out. Like,
But the choice was between like joining the military or like how else am I going to pay for college. It was a lot of like, well, being first gen, it's like you got to figure it out. So there wasn't a
mhm,
whole lot of upper hand to give me. Even though I come from a middle class family, it was like my parents didn't know about like the academic route. That wasn't something they were familiar with. There was no one to kind of walk me through that process. FAFSA,
mhm,
all that I had to figure out through like those seminars they did at school. So I think about this and I think about like what that taught me and how that made me like this really resilient, persistent, like goal oriented, great work ethic person, not to hype myself. But I think that only came as a result of me having to figure things out so much. So then I think
mhm.
about with kids, it's like, yes, can you give them opportunities? Sure. But then you get a situation like the controversy with LeBron James' son, where Bronny's playing for the Lakers, which is like this top team in the league. And it's like, was he really NBA ready? Or was that just an opportunity that was given to him that should have went to somebody else with more merit just
Mhm.
because that opportunity came from his dad? So it's like, I don't know. I struggle with this question a lot because I do feel like I don't want my kids to struggle. That's why I became like a doctor and shit like that, and why I'm working to like make money because I'm like I want them to know a middle class life as well. But I also want them to have the same grit and the same work ethic and the same resilience I had and the same of like strength in the face of like rejection and failure and adversity. So
Yeah, I'm all for the nepo. Like, give me the nepotism. And I
okay.
would give it to my kids. But I think you could have both with still providing your kids the opportunity to figure things out on their own, to build strong work ethic. Like I don't think that just because you're giving your kid an upper hand, they don't have a strong work ethic. Like we have seen many, situations where like some kids are spoiled, they know that they're gonna work for their family's company, and that's what it is. But I think for me, especially if my kid wants to work in the same like field as me, then I'm definitely going to help guide them because I
Mm-hmm.
just think it's very selfish for a parent to not educate their kid or lay
Mm-hmm.
out some type of blueprint for them, especially if they're trying to do the same thing that their parents are trying to do. Like, I never understood when parents would just kick their kids out at 18, never taught them how to do their taxes, never taught them how to set up a 401k, like, just did not prepare them for the world. But because their parents had to get it out the mud, their kids are going to get it out the mud. That to me does not make any sense unless you're a kid that's spoiled rotten, hard-headed, has not learned any lessons, and you really do need to get out the mud to learn some life lessons. So, yeah, I'm gonna give my kids a helping hand. I'm gonna figure out what I could do for them, which one of my friends they could do an internship at, and I'm not gonna feel bad about it because at the end of the day, I'm not like raising spoiled rotten kids. I'm
Mm-hmm.
still gonna have children that are educated, that work hard. I mean, this is a woman with no kids. This is my mindset that I'm gonna make my kids still be educated and work hard and understand like hard work ethic. But yeah, if I can help them get their foot in the door by telling my friend like, "Hey, I'm gonna give you my child's resume," my child still has to get the job on their own. You know what I'm
I
saying?
I think what you're saying is accurate, and I think that's kind of what I meant. And I don't think I gave my parents enough credit, so I'm gonna backtrack real quick. I think my parents gave me the tools to build the house, but they did not build the house for me. And that's what
Hmm.
I mean. As far as like a lot of the stuff that I've gotten has been on my own merit, if I can say that. But my parents did teach me how to do my taxes. They did teach me what 401ks were and financial literacy. Did I listen? Maybe not all the time, but they taught me the life skills I needed to be successful, but they just did not build the house for me. And I think we have two really good examples here in kind of differing opinions when it comes to like Hollywood, right? Because we have the Jackie Chan who allegedly, because I went back and tried to find like an actual source of him saying this, but it was all circulating on social media, so this is all alleged. So allegedly Jackie Chan said that he would be leaving his like almost $400 million fortune to charity and not to his children because he feels like you should have to earn a fortune. It should not be given. Now, does
Hmm.
that sound like some shit Jackie Chan would say? Probably. Can we say
Yeah,
for sure?
maybe.
Yeah. But I don't want
But
everybody to say we said it for sure. But if that's the case, that's kind of the perspective he's approaching it with. And on the other hand, we have Idris, whose daughter auditioned in 2022, or like he said in 2022, she auditioned for Beast with
hmm.
him. And he was like, she didn't get the role. And she ended up not talking to him for 3 weeks because she was upset. And she felt kind of like what you were saying. Like, if you have this space in this place, why did I, like, some people were like, why did she even have to audition? It was kind of split online about like how this should go. You know what I'm saying?
No, you
But
still gotta
see,
prove yourself.
but
You still have
see,
to prove yourself.
this is like, how do you find the balance though? Like, at what point, like, what is the fine line? Because he was like, he told Will Packer, he was like, look, you know, Will looked at her like a niece. He called her to break the news, but Idris was like, I still want you to put her through the ringer. I still want you to put her through the ropes. Give her a shot, let her audition. But if she's not like the best fit, she's not the best fit. And you have to break that down for her in a way that she understands this is the industry.
Yeah.
So this is
And I,
where,
I think there's also a difference when the parent owns the entity
mm-hmm,
versus when a friend does. Like,
fair.
I feel like it's like maybe if my dad was actually the executive producer, the writer, director, whatever, and really had the power to just dictate if I was going to get this role or not, then maybe I would not talk to him for 3 weeks
So that was
because
going to
it's
be my
like,
question. I think we're approaching this from the place we're currently at and not what it means to actually be nepotic. I don't know if that's a real word, but nepotic is in we have the means and the privilege and the financing to really, I'm talking about we could take our kids straight out of college if they even have to go. We could take them straight out of high school, put them in an executive VP C suite in our firm or some shit like that, not having
mhm.
to earn anything. I think that's the lens we have to think about it is like, if we had like the Lily Depp's, because no offense to Lily Depp, but that show at the weekend was awful, and the acting was awful, and everything about it was awful, and I was just like, this is not good. So when I think about stuff like that, it's like, would you? And this is the question: like, if you were a millionaire, if you were an Ava or a Tyler Perry, would you just bring your kid directly to the top with you?
Nah,
Okay,
they
I
still
think
gotta
that's what I
work.
was saying.
They still have to work for it. And my nepotism would be like, okay, I'm on this film, so they're gonna be a PA, no exception about it. You know what I'm saying?
Okay,
Like, is
that's the
this a
balance.
situation where yeah, where I'm not gonna make you the a director's assistant if you've never done anything on this set before. You've shown me that you've been putting in the work and you've been doing it, then sure. Or I might fund your web series. You
Mm-hmm.
know, you showed me that you wrote a script. I think it's great. I'll fund it for you. To me, that's a balance of nepotism. And maybe for some people, they're like, no, like nepotism is when you, like you said, like I'm in the C-suite. I'm
Right.
right under my father. I'm his executive assistant, stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. And I think there is that. But for me, there would be a balance because at the end of the day, like we still got to make this money. Like you're not going to make me lose out on money just because you want an opportunity. You got to show me that you're able to like take the opportunity and run with it. That I told
Fair.
you the right things to do.
That's
So that's
fair.
that's just my opinion.
Fair enough. So we should get into like what nepotism is for the people that don't even know.
I know. I was just thinking. I was like, we
It
just dove right in, didn't explain. But
happens.
but I think at this point, you all know what nepotism is, which is basically favoritism based on kinship. And so, and obviously in Hollywood, that happens a lot, especially with white Hollywood. Um, and I'm trying, like, there are so many white nepotism,
I
like
mean,
actors that we can name. Like Jamie Lee Curtis is probably, well, I don't want to say she's white nepotism because I don't know her background to say that her family gave her a leg up in Hollywood, but we know that she comes from a Hollywood legacy.
apparently there was a lot of Nepo babies just in the White Lotus season 3 alone. Like,
Oh my God, yeah, Arnold Schwarzenegger's son was like in it or something like
yeah.
that.
So it's like, I think white nepotism is so prevalent. That's where we get the idea of like, it's not what you know, it's who you know, right? That comes from, and it's not even just in Hollywood. We see that, I see that a lot in corporate America. Shit, I seen that at my last job with just a regular managerial level
Heck
position
yeah.
where a white woman just moved right into a spot that we had to go through a fellowship for. So it's like you see stuff like this, like I think it's so prevalent, it's hard to even recognize in white people, if that makes sense. I don't know.
Probably. Because I feel like you would probably be working with like the CEO's daughter and they wouldn't even have mentioned it.
Nope.
You wouldn't even know.
Or sometimes you do know. And sometimes it's this big thing on LinkedIn. This is really specific. Sometimes it's this big thing on LinkedIn and you see this announcement and it's like, yo, bitch, how did you get that role? To the point where you actually want to go up to them and ask them, like, what
Mm.
did you do to get put into this spot? I need to know right now because intuitively, I know you shouldn't be here. So
So yeah, I have a few statistics that I looked up.
go for it.
These statistics are more so around corporate America,
Mm-hmm.
specifically like manufacturing jobs, but I feel like it can correlate into really any job field and industry. So before turning 30, nearly one third of Americans will work at the same firm as a parent.
It's probably white America.
Exactly. We already know that the numbers cater to white Americans, but I just think these statistics are really interesting. Um, and these young adults earn almost 20% more than if they were hired in the regular fashion through a regular interview process and not knowing anyone. Of course, white men have higher incomes, and they benefit from nepotism more than anyone. Um, and so, yeah, nepotism hiring is primarily blue collar jobs, and is especially prevalent in manufacturing, like I mentioned. But I thought it was also interesting that they were saying that both sons and daughters normally do get jobs at their parents' firms, but they typically work for a parent of the same gender, which makes sense. But then it also affects how women are paid because we all know that statistically women are paid less than men.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm
I think it's
going,
like 63 cents to a dollar or some shit, if I remember correctly from my DEI trainings.
yeah, I don't know if that's the black women's
I think it's
percentage.
black women.
Yeah, that's what I say. I think that's black women's percentage. White women get paid a little more, but
Yeah.
um, so the simple fact that if I do want to follow in like my parents' footsteps, it's like I should actually go work for my dad, not my mom.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think this is also a really annoying statistic that only 2% of candidates who apply for a job are selected um, to actually just have a job interview in general, which makes it very disheartening.
I've actually sat on numerous hiring committees, and that's facts. Like, we'll get so many applications. I think we
Hmm.
might schedule like 3 interviews,
Yeah.
and we'll usually pull a candidate from those 3 interviews. And we might, if we're feeling froggy, do 4 or 5, but mostly it stops around that point, and we're picking one of those candidates because the interview process is a long fucking process these days. There's skill activities sometimes, there's presentations, well, at least at my level. So it's like 2% of candidates who apply for a job are selected. Yeah, but if like 5 people are selected and one of those is the boss's son, it's really technically less than that if we're talking about like how nepotism works. So
Yeah. Yeah. We're going to talk about that a little bit more about like how nepotism also kind of evolves into like networking, like who is the network that you have. And it's not just about like being hired into your parents' firm,
mm-hmm.
but also being hired into their friends' firms and tapping into their network. So, and for me, honestly, this is very relevant, specifically working in the media industry. Like the majority of my jobs I've gotten in the media industry is because I've known somebody. A lot
Which
of
makes
them
sense.
Yeah, a lot of them I did not have to interview for. I would say 75% of the jobs that I booked was because of my network and who I knew and some type of contact.
You want to
So,
know what's funny? In my corporate world, I would say all but maybe one of my jobs have been off just merit alone and like fighting my way to the interview. And only one of them came. And this was only because like I had interviewed for a different position and the people that were part of that interview met me and liked me, that it became something different. But other than that, every single other interview has just been, hope you like my resume.
yeah, and it's really difficult in media, especially like because there's different levels to media, obviously. Like there's the, production working for a TV or
Mm-hmm.
film production where, a lot of times they are not like sending out job inquiries.
No.
They are talking to their whoever they worked with and they're like, "Hey, I'm trying to fill in this role. Do you know anybody?"
Mm-hmm.
Like that's how it is a lot of times.
Is that
Um,
because like the agents are the ones that are kind of like booking jobs? Like, is there a reason for that?
Well, agents is on a higher level. That's
Okay.
normally when you're like a director, a certain level of a producer, obviously actors, like they have agents. But
Mm-hmm.
people that are like below the line that are just like, well, and sometimes camera
Mm-hmm.
people and cinematographers have agents too, but like an assistant camera person or a director's assistant or like a production coordinator, they don't normally have agents, and those are the people that like it's
Right.
networks. Because even when I worked on a HBO show like several years ago, I could have continued to work with that group of people, because once I got my foot in the door, my AC is already about to
Mm-hmm.
be working on another project after this, and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I'm gonna need a team, and I'd rather not try to find a whole new team. Like, I'll just work with you if you want to continue.
I can imagine that's really difficult considering like there's so little representation, even behind the scenes on film crews and shit like that, of Black people in the film industry in general, or media in general. So it's like if it's who you know, and you got all these white people who are ADs and even just sound like the people who carry the boom mics and stuff like that. Like if you
Mhm.
got all these people who are like, yo, bro, I got a job, do you want it? And there's no interview process, there's nothing like that. I guess in a way, somewhat corporate America allegedly is somewhat regulated. Like, how does the film industry? How is that regulated, or is this just like a free for all? You literally cannot get in unless you know somebody.
No, I wouldn't say it's a free for all because
Okay.
the way I got the HBO job was through a job interview,
Okay.
but it was also because I was connected to an organization that was
Mm-hmm.
kind of like doing the hiring process for them. So I like some film production and TV productions, they still will do job interviews. It's not like they're
Okay.
reaching out and trying to find people.
Mm-hmm.
But I just know from personal experience, a lot of times before they do the interview process,
Mm-hmm.
they'll look internally like, who do we know? Like, hey, I'm gonna hit this person up, see if they're available. And if nobody's available, then it's like, all right, then let's like see what we can find and who we need to tap into to like get the candidates to
Mm.
actually interview people.
It's good to know.
So yeah, it varies production to production, but it is really about who you know, especially for smaller projects. Like
Mm-hmm.
these people aren't going through a whole interview process for a 2-day shoot. Most of them are not. It's really like who you know. Like, oh, but yeah, my friend's free this weekend. Like one of my friends hit me up the other day asking if I knew some editors. I'm like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I know three of them. Here you go. Here's their resumes.
Right.
Or not. Here's their websites and their portfolios. And she was like, okay, perfect. This is perfect. I'll reach out to this person.
Fair. I was thinking like as you were talking and as you went through those statistics and stuff, like I kept laughing to myself because I'm like, nepotism is what, and probably because they know it so well, nepotism is what a lot of white America thinks DEI is. That's fucking, as like I'm hearing the parallels and I'm hearing all the arguments against like DEI hires and affirmative action. And even when you were talking about who it actually benefits, I'm like, bro, this is the argument people are making for DEI, and that's just not the same thing. Equity and inclusion and diversity is not the same as why you can't get little Bobby in the door because y'all have to have a certain number of minority hires. Like, bro, this is why DEI was created. It was to combat things like nepotism. But as I'm listening to you talk, I'm realizing they've turned the entire argument into DEI is a form of nepotism. It's just based off race. I'm like, you fucking idiots. Fucking morons.
Yeah, and when I was thinking about this episode, I started thinking a lot about Malia Obama, and
Mm.
I started thinking like her, people were really upset about the opportunity she got to write for Atlanta, and to write, was the series called Hive,
It
or
was
was
Hive. Donald Glover.
I thought she had wrote for I can't even think of it now, Swarm.
Oh, I'm sorry, it was Swarm.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Hive
yeah.
was the original name, and then it became Swarm because it was based off like Beyonce.
Got yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, so yeah, so people were really upset that she got the opportunity to write for Swarm.
Mm-hmm.
My thing was like, is this actually nepotism, or is it that she has access to better opportunities because of the status of her parents? Like, because look, we were talking about before, social
Mm-hmm.
economic class. Like now I'm in a different class, so now I
Right.
have access to different opportunities that someone, that's just going to a community college might not have access to.
Right. And I think, I mean, power in class are kind of, they go hand in hand, right? The higher your class, the more your power. The more power you have, the
Hmm.
higher your class. So they're kind of like besties in that way. And when I think about Malia, I did see like this kind of like controversy about like nepotism surrounding her opportunities. But I feel like, how does one who has power and class, how do they prove their merit? And without everything being classified as nepotism. And the
Yeah.
reason I say that is because Donald Glover, it was this Vanity Fair article. He was talking about how Malia came on to write for Swarm. And he was saying that she was an amazingly talented person. She's really great at communicating her ideas. They're clear, they're brilliant. And that she was really focused and really hardworking. So it's like when you hear that, does that change your perception about whether or not that was nepotism? I think
Hmm.
that maybe instead of Donald Glover and writing for Swarm, she might have started, public access or something like that. I don't know. But I do think that on the other hand, and this is me not, this is not me being an apologist for people of higher class, but in a way, it's like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. If you do
Yeah.
nothing and you keep climbing your way up, then it's like, oh, nepotism. But if you're born into a family with the means to kind of create the house, like I was saying earlier, then how do you prove that you created the house with your own tools, your own merit, your own supplies, and not with like your parents? Like your parents didn't come in and build the shit for you. So I think
Hmm.
about that too, where it's like, was that probably nepotism? Sure. But Malia could also be incredibly talented. And I feel
Yeah.
like that part was kind of like swept under the rug a little bit, even though Donald Glover came out himself and said, like, man, she's great to work with.
Yeah. But then there's also the question of how did she even get in the room with Donald Glover in the first
That's
place?
why I was saying she might have
Yeah.
started at a different place if she was really building the shit herself. So I don't know. Maybe the foundation is built for you when your parents are the fucking president and first lady of the United States. I don't fucking know. Maybe
So
half the shit comes built.
So I really want to get into surprising Nepo babies. Obviously, there are a lot that we know of when it comes to Black Nepo babies. So,
Mm-hmm.
Tracy Ellis Ross, for example, is
Mm-hmm.
probably top of mind for me. Zoe Kravitz, she's the daughter of Lenny Kravitz and Lisa Bonet.
Zoe's Zoe's another one where I feel like Zoe's actually kind of talented, and I feel like
Yeah,
she's
yeah. I
really
mean,
good.
I feel like they're talented, but Hollywood and society still considers them nepo babies,
They are.
regardless if they started from the bottom or not.
They are, but this is also making me think a lot about, damn, how do you give them credit for what they've done without forgetting the fact that would they have done it if their parents weren't who their parents were?
Yeah, and I think it's really hard to like say that they're not nepo babies for people that are like
Yeah,
regular, because for us, we think of it as like, yeah, they took acting classes, but they took acting classes at some like expensive
prestigious.
acting school, yeah, prestigious school. Not to say that they didn't get in on their own, but it's kind of like they already had a leg up, and I think that's when it is like they're nepo because they already had this leg up that other people didn't have because, like you said, of who their parents are.
Yeah, it's not just crediting the fact that they're Nepo babies, it's just thinking about there's Nepo babies like the Kardashians, and then there's Nepo babies like Malia Obama. And I think maybe there goes the difference between white nepotism and black nepotism in a sense of black nepotism means that you actually have to have some sort of talent. You have to
Mm,
have something that shows why you deserve to be here at least. Like
yeah.
even Bronny, he had to have some talent to get into the NBA. He couldn't have just walked on the bitch. Like he couldn't just walk on the Lakers. So it's like when you think about the Kardashians, what were the qualifiers?
They built them along the way. But okay, so let's get back into our list. So
Mm-hmm.
obviously Tracy Ellis Ross, Zoe Kravitz, O'Shea Jackson Jr., who is the son of Ice Cube. The biggest of them all, Willow and Jaden Smith. Like
Also super talented.
they are very talented. I mean, but they are a great example of Nepo
They
babies
are.
and how their parents have a whole production company so they can kind of if they wanted to be bigger movie stars,
They could be.
Will and Jada would have made them that.
I think we see that though, right? Because we those they've been in like what's his name? Was it Jaden? Wasn't he in Pursuit of Happiness a long time ago? Like these were
Yeah.
um
But I will say for that one, Will didn't like put pressure him or anything. I think Jaden actually had to like kind of audition for that.
oh okay. Well, because Jada or not Jada, Willow was also in what was it? I Am Legend and shit like that. She played like his daughter
Hmm.
when they were evacuating the city. So yeah, they could have probably been well, we've seen how that one Jaden and Will movie went.
Wait, they
Well,
had a movie together? I didn't
yeah,
remember them ever
it
having a
wasn't
movie
good.
together.
It wasn't good. We don't talk about that one.
No, but they helped produce The Last Dragon, and Jaden was in that, and he did an amazing job.
Fair enough. Good recovery.
Yes. All right, more Nepo babies. Okay, John David Washington,
Fair.
who obviously is the child of Denzel. And another example is Rashida Jones, who is the daughter of Quincy Jones. I don't think a lot, I mean, I don't know who knows and who doesn't know, but and then I put Romeo Miller on here, the son of Master
He did
P.
have a show, but he was
Yo,
also a pretty big rapper.
Romeo was out here as a child actor. Like he was really doing it. His now to like Romeo is a great example of black nepotism because his father, as soon as
Hmm.
he told his dad he wanted to be an actor, his dad was like, "All right, bet we about to get you a TV show. We
Yep.
about to do everything." Like,
But Master P's been credited a lot for like his business acumen and his ability to kind of like navigate corporate America or
yeah.
that the business side of like media.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I'm really actually excited to talk about the Nepo babies that are not well known.
Hmm.
And so I looked through so many lists. Oh my God, I looked through so many lists trying to find Black Nepo babies, and they were all the same. Basically, all these people that was referencing. Not one list had freaking Sanaa Lathan on it at all.
Really?
No list has Sanaa Lathan on it. And I think, like, not a lot of people know that her father is a well-known, award-winning filmmaker, director, and producer for decades now.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's crazy to me.
I think Sinai surprised me a lot. And even when we think about Sinai, um, we'll get into Sinai.
Yeah, we'll get, sorry, let me just say the list first.
Yeah.
All right. Also Kim Fields. I think if you know, you know, but I don't think a lot of new age people realize that Kim Fields is the daughter of an amazing actress, Chip Fields, who is also her mother and living single.
Hmm.
And then Yara Shahidi.
This one was a surprise to me.
When I first found out several years ago, I think it was, but now it's kind of like, oh, it makes sense. So her father is a film director, filmmaker, and he started off as a photographer and he worked for Prince for many years. So yeah, and now her and her mom own their own production company. Olivia Washington was the most surprising Nepo baby to me, just because. Yeah, just because I hadn't heard anything about her until I saw her starring in I'm a Virgo. And even then, I didn't know who she was. I just loved her as an actress. And I started looking her up and I'm like, this is Denzel Washington's daughter? Like, what? How did I not know this? How did we not know?
When you think about it, she actually kind of looks like him. She
That's what I'm
like John
saying.
David.
Once you put two and two together, you're like, oh, this makes sense. Like, how
Hmm.
did we not see this? Okay, another one, Maya Rudolph. I feel like a lot of people know, but many probably don't. The daughter of Minnie Riperton.
I
Um,
didn't know why Maya Rudolph was a Nepo baby. I just knew that she was.
yeah, yeah, she's the daughter of Minnie Riperton. Cuba Gooding Jr. can technically kind of be considered a Nepo baby. His father was a well-known singer.
Mm.
Mason. Oh, sorry. I said that backwards. I said it backwards. Cuban Gooding Jr.'s father was a singer, but he was not. Cuba is not the Nepo baby. His son is the Nepo baby.
Yep.
So Cuba's son, Mason Gooding, is a Nepo baby, and he's starred in several different films um, that I couldn't name, but he's out there. He's doing things.
Okay.
Okay, our last two, Nico Parker. She's the daughter of Thandie Newton. And Nico's actually really doing well right now. And she's been in several like well-known films actually. And then my last one, which I thought was so cute, I was like, oh, Coco Jones.
Adorbs.
Love her. So I guess she's not considered like a industry Nepo baby in the sense of like media and film,
Well,
but her
she's on Fresh Prince.
no, I'm saying like her parents weren't in the
Oh,
Hollywood.
okay.
Yeah, her parents weren't in the like media film industry, but her father is a very well-known NFL player. I think he played for like 12 seasons or something like that. And then her mother's also a singer and a coach. So Coco Jones definitely got her start as a Nepo baby. Like I think one of her first performances, like performing the Star Spangled Banner. Is it Star Spangled Banner or the national anthem? Sorry, singing the national anthem was like for her father's NFL game.
Hmm.
Like
Good to
that.
know.
Yeah. So like I was saying before, Sanaa Lathan has always I've known she's been a Nepo baby for a while because um I did research into her dad a little bit,
Hmm.
like so basically her father, Stan Lathan, is a really well-known film director, producer. He got his start really in being, I think it was behind the camera, like doing camera work more. And then he slowly transitioned into directing television. One of his earliest shows was Sanford and Son that he filmed and directed. And then
Oh
the
wow.
family eventually moved to LA because Sanaa Lathan originally is from the East Coast. I forget where she's from exactly, but she's from the East Coast and they eventually moved to LA. She went to Beverly Hills High School. She graduated from the University of Berkeley. And then she went to Yale and she got a master's in like, what was it, a master's in like theater or something like that.
Hmm.
So Sanaa started off making a name for herself off Broadway, and her father basically encouraged and convinced her to build more of a career in LA. So she did LA theater as well, but then she transitioned into TV. And so I don't think I don't think they've ever worked together on projects
Hmm.
at the same time, but her father did direct a lot of pilots like Moesha, Steve Harvey's show, The Parkers, Amen, Eve, Real Housewives of Hollywood. And Sanaa Lathan actually was on Moesha. So I don't
Hmm.
know if they were on at the same time, but I think it's really interesting that like he has such a strong like career behind the scenes and she's like building this career in front of the camera the whole time that her father's like doing all these amazing things. Like he also was one of the main directors of Def Comedy Jam and helped it to evolve into what it became. And also Def Poetry Jam too. So it's like he's had his hands in a lot of things. So
I had
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, like, I had seen this clip, and maybe that's where like some of this is pulled from too, where Sanai was talking about like how she got her start in acting, and
Hmm.
she was basically saying she was part of this like black theater group, and they were doing improv and all this other stuff, and she really loved it. And she said before that she didn't really have any aspirations to be an actress. It was that being a part of that made her want to do it. And again, DI, my friends, basically a minority recruiter for Yale came and told her like a lot of young girls of color don't actually, or not even young girls, a lot of young people of color do not consider applying to grad school in the arts. And she told her she should apply. And that's actually why Sanaa ended up going to Yale for the, what was it, School of Drama or something.
Hmm.
So that was pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, and then she did a interview with Hello Beautiful where
Mm-hmm.
basically she said she never worked with her father and credits her hard work and talent for her success. Basically, I feel like she credits herself for her success,
Mm-hmm.
even though she acknowledges that people perceive her as a nepo baby. And
Yep.
I think that's the same thing we were talking about before. Like you could still start from the bottom and build your own career. But at the end of the day, I do still think you have an advantage because one of your parents works in this industry. So there's insight to it that you would have that other people wouldn't have, you
Well, I
know?
agree. And there's capital to put behind the machine. And I say that because there's a difference between someone who cannot just get into Yale, but can afford to go to Yale, right? I think there's something to be said about how the opportunities are created, how the path is created. So me joining the Air Force to pay for college is different than coming from a background where maybe my family has money or more money and they're able to like just put me through all 4 years, no student loans, no debt, no working while I'm studying, nothing like that. There's more opportunities in network. It's almost like a trickle down effect of just like whether or not you have the means to create the path.
Hmm.
Sometimes you be doing brick by fucking brick, like fucking Franklin. So when you have that, like when we're thinking about like the families that I came from, to go to this, like even be a part of a Black theater workshop, like a lot of recreational activities. This goes into like for those of y'all that want your kids to go to like college, this goes into creating a good college admissions essay, right? The students with more capital are able to put more recreational activities, whether it's like fencing or all these really cool things, horseback riding, they're equestrian. So when you're able to go to a Black improv group, that's going to create some opportunities, even if the opportunity is just igniting the flame of interest in a certain field. So,
Hmm.
yeah, nepotism, man. Capitalism, really, but nepotism.
Yeah, okay, let's get into our next person who isn't a surprise, but I am not mad at this Nepo baby at all. And I'm actually very proud of his success.
So, yeah, O'Shea Jackson, like we know he's the son of Ice Cube. I mean, you don't need a DNA test to tell you that. And you know, there you put this really cool tidbit in here about when Straight Outta Compton was coming out. Ice Cube was basically like, you're gonna put him in, he's gonna play me, and y'all are gonna help him the same way John Singleton helped me. And I respect that, but the way that Ice Cube is open about creating that opportunity for O'Shea is open about accepting that that was his opportunity. And I
Hmm.
think there was like a tweet from, it was a few years ago. Oh, it was March of this year where someone had called him a Nepo baby for his success, like on Twitter. And he was like, you know, telling me I got an easy life and an insult, bro. And a lot of people online were like, I wish more Nepo babies at least did this and acknowledged kind of like, you know, O'Shea's not, he's like, I'm not shying away from the fact that my dad did create opportunities for me. And you have people who are crying on TV because people feel, Kendall Jenner, they feel, or there's a perception that their talent is not what got them there, but their social ties to certain families or empires is what got them there. And you're walking New York fashion runways, and Black models are getting kicked off Victoria's Secret shows so that you could walk. I'm just
Oh,
saying.
the shade. Ugh.
So it's like, I like that O'Shea takes kind of like, I mean, yeah, Straight Out of Compton. It's kind of like, it feels like that would have been a given though. But it's like, I guess if O'Shea didn't have the acting skills to play Ice Cube, then it would have been
Hmm.
like an Idris situation where I'm guessing he wouldn't have been cast. It doesn't sound like Ice Cube was letting that happen regardless. He's like, I'll teach him how to act. I don't give a fuck what y'all are talking about. Y'all are going to put him in there and he's the only one that can play me. And you can't have Straight Outta Compton without Ice Cube. So that's a really nice way to leverage privilege and power, right? Because Ice Cube's another person that staged the job. White America loves Ice Cube,
Yeah.
surprisingly.
Ice Cube I feel like Ice Cube doesn't get enough credit
No.
for how he pivots and shifts. To me, Ice Cube is similar to a Master P, where
Yes.
he really knows how to navigate the entertainment industry. Just the fact that he started his own basketball league that is competing with with the NBA and is like going overseas and like doing all of these things,
Hmm.
but his own basketball league, like you can't tell me shit about Ice
I
Cube.
actually feel like Ice Cube should be mentioned more in conversations with like Tyler Perry a little bit. I guess he's not actually creating jobs for Black people though, so maybe that's why we give Tyler Perry a different conversation.
I wouldn't say he's not creating jobs for Black people, but I think it's different because Tyler Perry is writing, directing, and producing everything, and
And acting.
and he owns all of the IP versus I think Ice Cube, I think he does like produce and executive produce and stuff like that, but he's not like
Hmm.
always coming up with the original concepts and
Right. But
like it's
he is
not
an
his production company.
innovator when it comes to
Yeah.
business, and he does stay with a job. He does know how to make some money, and I guess that's why maybe you're right. Master P is probably a better correlation. But I did appreciate Ice Cube being open about creating that opportunity. It sparked that conversation again, right? It's like, is it okay to pull people in the way that Ice Cube brought his son in? And not even just people, like, is it okay to pull your family in the way that Ice Cube pulled his son in? And to O'Shea's point, he's not going to sit here and pretend like he got it out the gutter or that there was, like, I'm not saying he's not talented or his work ethic isn't there, but he's not shying away from the conversation that maybe it wasn't solely merit. And I appreciate
Mhm.
that.
Yeah. And I think it's also cool that even though Ice Cube got him in the door, like O'Shea's contacts and network also
Mm-hmm.
continue to allow him to elevate because the relationship he got with one thing I will say about 50 Cent, when he loves you and you gonna be on.
Down. And you're going to be in every spinoff of the 50 Cent Stars Network because we all know 50 Cent owns Stars.
I mean, just the fact that O'Shea is like the star of Den of Thieves, isn't that a 50 Cent production?
Oh, it might be actually. I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure it's a 50 Cent production.
You know, I'm not the biggest 50 Cent production fan. Like, I saw Power and that was it. And I know everybody be watching Raising Cane?
Raising Kanan, yeah.
Whatever. But like he has like 16 different spinoffs of the Power universe. And I'm just like, this fucking guy is an Avenger.
All right, let's talk about our last person that's a Nepo baby that I briefly mentioned, which is Kim Fields, who's an actress, a director, producer. Um, I think Kim Fields is amazing, and I feel like she doesn't get enough flowers. But even more amazing is her mother, Chip Fields, who, like I mentioned, she was also played her mother in Living Single. I feel like that's where a lot of like younger millennials, probably found her. But obviously, our parents' generation know her from Good Times. She did this really iconic scene where they were discussing child abuse, and there's just like
Mm-hmm.
really really like powerful disturbing scene of Chip Field's character abusing Penny, who was Janet Jackson's character in Good Times, and I believe she burned her with a iron.
Mm-hmm.
And so like every time I look up interviews about Chip Fields, like that scene comes up a lot. Um, and just like her experience teaching Janet Jackson how to like cry and how to really like prepare for that scene, I think is really cool. And I think the fact that not only has, she had this experience helping Janet Jackson, but she had a blossoming career for a really long time. She was in theater. She was a singer, she was an actress, she was also a television producer and director. So for a Black woman to be directing and producing television in, I believe, the 70s and 80s is just like, why are we not hearing more about her? Um, so yeah, and I'm curious if Kim Fields got because Kim Fields was also on Good Times and she
Mm-hmm.
played one of Penny's friends in the show. So I'm curious to know if Chip got her that role. Like if
See, that's the thing is I wish there was more transparency, kind of in the way we just talked about O'Shea and Ice Cube. I wish there was more transparency in parents being like, yeah, I helped them. So what? Fuck are you gonna do about it, brokey? Like I wish
and
there
I
was more of that.
it doesn't have to be brokey, but I
You know
think
what I'm
it's also the
saying?
fact that like like I helped them get their foot in the door, but like they auditioned and they got it themselves.
Like what
So
Idris was open about that. Like, yeah, like give her the audition, but don't cast her. Like if it works for you, it works for me. But if it doesn't work for you, then it just doesn't work. I think that's fair.
and I think what makes Kim Fields even more of a powerhouse is not only was she birthed from an iconic star, her stepfather was Irv Heard, who was the first black man to work. Oh, sorry. I'm adding stuff to his name. But he first began working in 1978 as an editor for the TV series Beat the Clock, and then he became a skilled cameraman and he recorded over 57 television series, TV specials, and documentaries. And he also directed and recorded 2,500 episodes of Jimmy Kimmel,
Mm-hmm.
which to me is like, dang, like
That's quite a bit. Jimmy
you're
Kimmel's
coming
pretty.
from you're coming from this household. Like imagine all of the insight and intel and knowledge that Kim Field has gained just from her mom and stepfather.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me. And if you don't know much about Kim Field's portfolio, she was Snooty on Facts of Life, which I was obsessed with that show. She was also in Different Strokes. That's where her character originally came from. And then it turned into a spin-off, which is The Facts of Life. She then moved on to, she was on that show for like 9 years or something. And then her first adult role, I believe, like full-time, like consistent role was Living Single. So Kim Fields is also a star in the Upshaws, and I actually got to see her direct once. So I randomly was an audience member for Tracy Morgan's newest show. I think it's actually about to come out soon. I did it for one episode, and Kim Fields
Mm-hmm.
was the director. And when I tell you, I was trying to like watch her so hard. Like she has such a great power and presence on stage or like in the room, and I think it's so cool to see her direct because it's like she's very like strong and bold, but there's still like I guess a kindness to her,
Mm-hmm.
or
She's
it's
just
not.
firm.
She's very firm. um like I guess like a black mother, like most black mothers that we know, it's like don't play with me, but I still love you and we can still kiki and have fun sometimes. Like
Yeah.
but I say that she was very like focused. Like you could tell that she came so prepared. And there was a moment when Tracy Morgan kept saying like the wrong line and like literally like the whole crew kind of like yelled the line out to him and she was like, "Hey, hey, I'm the director. Don't forget."
Yeah. Like let me do this. And he also doesn't need that many people being or like expressing like that level of frustration with him right now because it's not going to help the situation.
At all. But I just really love seeing her, and I just feel like she needs to receive more flowers. I feel like her evolution as an act child star to now a director and like a leading lady is something that needs to be studied and talked about more, especially how she came from Chip Fields and the household that she was raised in. So,
Facts of life.
facts of life,
so
the facts of Fields.
I guess Jesus Christ. So I guess we can wrap this conversation up with something that I've been trying to kind of like think through. And this is us thinking in real time. But I was thinking about the people that stay with the job, right? And when nepotism, we were talking about like the difference, like as far as like networking versus just like, just sliding into an opportunity. So when nepotism shifts into like cultural capital, and when we're talking about cultural capital, I think it was a phrase started by what's his name? Bordeaux. Don't get me lying to you in French. But basically, it's when over time people prove themselves and it starts as merit, right? Over time they prove themselves and they accumulate power, privilege, right? Prestige, credibility. People start to trust them and they get their foot in the door. That's when you start to have cultural capital. And when I'm thinking of filmmakers who have pretty good cultural capital, we're thinking of Spike Lee, comes to mind immediately. We're
Mhm.
thinking of Cougs, Sinners, Fruitvale, Creed, Jordan Peele, who you put his name on anything and people are bound to watch it because you see they've tried to throw his name on him and that wasn't even A
He
Jordan,
is I mean, his production company is a part of it.
but you see how they try to turn it into like a Jordan Peele film, and it starts to
Yeah.
overshadow the actual film creators because that was the thing online was like, oh, Jordan Peele has a new film coming out, and it's like, no, Jordan Peele, that's not what's happening here. The Ava DuVernays, because at one point that's all we fucking heard was Ava, and she kind of solidified herself as one of these powerhouse people, like filmmakers with cultural capital. Lena Argina, Prince Brightwood, is that how you say her name? Love and
Mhm.
Basketball, Beyond the Lights. And you have Barry Jenkins. You have all these powerhouse names. Tyler fucking Perry, my God. You have all these powerhouse names, and when I think about it, like they've made it, they've gained this cultural capital, but they're producing all the successful work. I was starting to think about what does that dynamic mean for emerging Black voices that are coming into a space where representation is already so scarce. Trying to work through whether or not that kind of like narrows the gate and what kind of pressure might be on a Spike Lee or an Ava DuVernay or a Jordan Peele. Because we had talked about Jordan Peele in creating Get Out versus when he created Nope, and nobody would just let the man live and just let it be a fucking alien movie that Jordan Peele felt like making instead of it being this highbrow think piece commentary on Black America and some other shit. So I was just thinking about like how it affects, and maybe this goes back to a conversation about how difficult it is for Black people to get their foot in the door in general. But I was just thinking
Mhm.
about how like these powerhouse names continuously getting jobs, continuously holding those spots, what that might mean for Black filmmakers trying to get in. And you might know better than me, being in the industry, what that looks like.
I mean, I guess for me, I'm trying to relate it to the nepotism aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
Is there supposed to be a relation or
I guess in my mind, it's like when it's almost like a cousin of nepotism in some ways, where again,
like
it's
the networking aspect
yes,
that
it
we're
goes
talking
back
about?
to that networking aspect. Is like when we're thinking about people who get their foot in the door, even if you're not family and stuff like that, does it create almost like a bottleneck on the opportunities available? And this might be a crabs in the barrel mentality. This might be a scarcity mentality that I'm thinking of already, where it's like once you have those powerhouse names and they create that credibility and they're constantly being afforded opportunities and jobs and roles and people are just greenlighting anything they want to do, does
Hmm.
that mean that someone coming in like black voice, are there Black voices that are being overlooked in favor of the ones who have the more cultural capital?
Yeah, I think that's always going to be the situation, regardless of if they're black or not.
Right.
Like I understand what you're saying about specifically with like the black elite of Hollywood
Yes, I
versus
think that's what I'm talking about now.
yeah, versus like the regular everyday person. But I think again, I think that's the conversation we've had this whole time is it's kind of like that's kind of how the system was created. And
Mm,
I also feel like because there's the internet and there's YouTube and there's all these other ways for Black stories to get out, I think that it almost levels the playing field a little bit because now in my opinion, obviously I'm not Spike Lee or any of these people, um, but in my opinion, they still have to be aware of what's happening.
hmm
They still have to be in tune of like cultural conversations and stories and stuff like that. And
hmm
so I feel like that's where these new storytellers have the opportunity to get in front of Spike Lee.
I think
I
that's what I was getting to. Yes, continue.
Yeah. Like, yeah, there's the old school way of doing it where you
hmm
grind and you work your way and you stand outside of 40 acres and a mule every day until you get Spike
Shoving
Lee
paper into
to
my
notice
trunk.
you and give you a job as a production assistant.
hmm
And you network and you continue to work from production to production and you build your network and people start to refer you. And there's also you do it on your own. And I think that's that's what a lot of them did. The people that
hmm
have their names now did it on their own, regardless of if they started at a film school or if they were a publicist and decided to make a film and started it on their own. Like they started putting out their own content and
hmm
they became noticed. And I think that's like not changing. But I think
hmm
because we have these black elite in Hollywood now,
hmm
I think they want to work with fresh faces and new storytellers, and that's what I'm assuming. And I
Right.
feel like a lot of them do, like Lena Waithe and Issa Rae, who
Mm-hmm.
create opportunities for new storytellers to be in competitions and get opportunities, like directors' assistants opportunities,
Mm-hmm.
and get their short films made and things like that. So I do think they're trying to open the door.
Mm-hmm.
I just think they're doing it in their own way. Um,
Well, I think this comes back to like that it's full circle, right? Because in the beginning we were talking about like what would you do in that situation, and I think this is the balance, right? This is where if you have the opportunity, you kind of create it. And of course, you see, like with Issa's a great example. When I think about like all the actors in Insecure that actually got to direct episodes, I thought that
mhm.
was the coolest thing ever was to be able to create a different credit for them. I'm not saying like I don't know what qualifies you to direct. I'm sure being an actor gives you obviously a better understanding of what it means, but to be able to do something like that and just pull you in, you're not family, you're not related to me, you're not like something of my blood, but I guess the difference between black nepotism and white nepotism, full circle moment, is that black nepotism is typically rooted in creating opportunity and equity, and white nepotism is rooted in securing or maintaining
Maintaining.
equity and opportunity. So I think we answered our question from the beginning. Yay, full circle.
So yeah, so I appreciate the deep dive and like the critical thinking question. Like I always love, I mean, I feel like that's what you bring to the podcast is the critical thinking and the deep analysis of topics and cultures or topics when it comes to film and television. So I know this episode was a little different than what we normally do, but I feel like it was a good conversation to have. Like
I agree.
I appreciated the statistics, I appreciated the viewpoints and the opinion, both of our opinions. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it too, and let us know some of your most surprising Black Nepo babies or some of your favorite Black Nepo babies. And make sure that you continue to support, follow, and share Ship Black Girls Watch. Sign up for our newsletter so you can be on top of our latest podcast episodes, but also our events because we have monthly events and watch parties, and we want to see you there. So until next time, love always. I'm Mia Dene here with my bestie Trish.